portal to, one second. We just started live streaming, so I feel like I have to say that all over again. So I'm real excited about one of the topics on this agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about it, but just to intro it, it's a follow-up to some requests that we've gotten, not just from this group and past members of this group, but also from other people in the business community. And it's really about creating a better online portal, one of those kind of one-stop shop that's going to help particularly small businesses, medium-sized businesses get what they need when it comes, if it's resources or other items from the city. So I hope everyone got the link for that. And if you haven't had a chance to play around with it yet, then we'll be testing it for quite a while. But the city manager is wanted this group to have a chance to play with it and to give us feedback. It's kind of like a soft launch, I guess, but it's something that we hope to build on and just kind of knock out one of the lower hanging fruit items that people have talked about that we should be doing at the city. So we'll get to that though. We're about 4 minutes in, and I know we got a few people who, as Janet said, won't be joining us today, so we will jump right in. Let's go ahead and approve the minutes for August 20th. Has every member had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Amber. All in favor, please say aye, or just give a thumbs up if your mic's on.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Moving into COVID relief, because we're still dealing with COVID. Mr. Bell.
All right, good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are having a good Friday so far. I know it's pretty early, so we're kind of just getting started. But really the only thing that has changed for us in terms of the SBA, I just wanted to continue to raise awareness of the COVID EIDL loan program. Now, for those businesses and nonprofits that have already received an EIDL loan, you can go back and request an increase up to $2 million. That's a big deal, and we're pushing out a lot of information about how to do that. If you haven't applied for the EIDL program, you can do so right now. And again, just to refresh everyone's memory about the terms, we're talking about for a for-profit business, the interest rate on these loans are 3.75%. It's placed on a term of 30 years, and it has deferred payments for the first 24 months. So it's truly intended to help you recover and continue to, cover operational costs, that sort of thing, as you, basically resume normal operations. For nonprofits, the interest rate is 2.75%. And again, the term is placed on a 30-year, or the loan is placed on a 30-year term, 24-month deferment. So it's a big deal. I encourage anyone that's interested, if you have questions about it, contact our local district office. You can find out more about it by simply going to our website at sba.gov. You can contact the local district office at 316-269-6566. And that's it for now.
Excellent. Are there any questions for Mr. Bell? All right, seeing none. We'll jump into our next item, and that's the Cowtown partnership opportunities. So we have Hoyt Hillman, who's on the Cowtown board, who wanted to give this group an update on opportunities with Cowtown. So Hoyt, are you still there? So I'm kind of poking around, like I see him down there, but I don't know if you shut off everything. Or if you are there, we can't see or hear you. Okay, so we'll wait till he gets back on, and I'll go ahead and continue discussion about item 5 then, and then once it's back on, we'll jump back up to item 4. So again, item 5, as kind of my intro suggested, is us responding to the business community when it comes to creating that one-stop portal website that hopefully will have the capabilities to pretty much enter data once, and then that data will merge into these other fields so that people can apply for the different permits that they need. From this community or this sector, I'm really, the sector that most of you represent, I'm really interested in feedback when it comes to stuff that that has to do with some of those temporary permits, you know, where you have to make it ask for expanding services, let's say with the open air ICT process, or with what are some of the other ones Janet would know, where you actually have to apply for like an outdoor permit to have an event, that type of stuff, along with the forms to incorporate or, you know, become an LLC at the state level. Those type of forms, the feedback we've gotten is that they're all just different. Like you have to constantly do the same type of information in different places. And so we're trying to respond to that. We're able to utilize some of our ARPA money to create a better portal, a website that will be, you know, will give a better customer experience for business owners who are either trying to start a business or expand their services here in the city. So again, the manager was very interested, as am I, with this group's experience with the website. So please play with it. Let us know what you think. I would love next meeting to be able to have a conversation about things we could add or change so that we could be agile and make sure that we have the best product moving forward. If you did have a chance to play with it already, if you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. Miles, you got any feedback from the link?
Mayor, I just jumped on. I'm sorry. I do not.
Okay. The little box thing moved to your box. So I was like, okay, Miles jumping in. All right. Yeah. So again, also don't feel like you have to limit it to, like, it's not a secret link. So feel free to also, if you know someone in your circle who has concerns about the process at the city level when it comes to getting things done, feel free to shoot them the link and have them play with it as well. The goal again is to somewhat report back, just to let us know what we could be doing better. And again, this is in response to just what we've been hearing from the community, and we had an opportunity to invest in it thanks to some of the ARPA funds that, you know, freed up some budget dollars as well. So if there's any questions on item 5. All right, we just full on lost the Cowtown guy. So, okay, so hopefully he gets back on. So next, let's go ahead and continue on to item 6 and just get some feedback about what people are experiencing with the new Delta variant. I know our last conversation we had, folks were concerned, particularly the Harkeys, were talking about the industry, the restrictions of the industry, or restrictions, I guess, just the issues that the industry was facing with the rise in cases. It's only gotten worse since then. So I'd love to open it up and just see what people are hearing and experiencing.
It really sucks.
Yeah, our ticket sales are down 30 to 50%, and then we're having no-show rates on the tickets we do sell of, you know, 20 to 40%, and it's typically 5% no-show rates. So, you know, we rely so heavily on people coming and spending money on concessions and stuff like that. When you have, you know, nearly half the crowd that buys tickets not show up, it's brutal. So
that, and then in addition to, not only is it a financial issue, we're seeing a lot of strain. We're seeing mental health issues within our staff.
Yeah,
it's brutal right now.
Yeah, tours are canceling or postponing because, you know, band members get sick. We're doing a bunch with different variations of COVID protocols for shows. So some shows you have to be vaccinated or show a negative test to get in. We leave that up to the band at this point, but a lot of them are moving that way more so than not, it seems like. But in doing so, we're, facing a bunch of public backlash.
No matter what we do, we're alienating a portion of the population.
Mhm.
We have been called Nazis by both sides. So that's a blast. But we know none of this is limited to our community. It's actually really surprising. We found out a friend of, oh, never mind. Stuff I'm not supposed to say. It's something happening across the board in much more drastic measures.
So can I ask a question to you guys? Because I'm obviously the nonprofit sector. I know Rachel is. Is there something that we can do to help your staff with mental health? I know that's what Breakthrough does. We do limited mental health or and that kind of capacity. Is there something that the nonprofit industry needs to do to try to step up to help the small business communities with mental health issues for their employees?
That would be great. I don't know what all resources you actually have to offer. So if you could shoot me that. I know we did sign up for MPAC this week to try to get resources for our staff that way.
There's a thing called Backline that also does that as well that we're working on.
Yeah, that's
hey,
national.
I'm on now.
We'll get right back to you. 1 minute. We're going to finish up this item, then we'll go back to yours.
Hi, there we go.
So I don't know if Rachel has any suggestions in that
weird.
area too. I can come and talk to you guys a little bit about some of the stuff that we can help maybe with your employees, especially with the new help for housing or rent and utilities that just came out. And I think that was through the city, I want to say, or through the state. I'm not sure. I just kind of glanced at the email. I didn't fully read it all just yet. But so I'm not really sure on that area. But, I know that we want to help the small business communities as much as we can also, because that's who we serve. Rachel, do you have anything to add for mental health help? She might have froze.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I think she froze.
But yeah, maybe Amber, maybe we could set up a Zoom or something and start. That would be amazing. Cause everybody in our little crew is having a rough time of it. And some of them are having a very rough time.
Okay. She's back. And I would love to talk with you guys about that. Rachel, do you have anything to add?
Just that we don't do therapy right at Breakthrough, but we do have some housing supports that could really be useful for employees. And of course, for those who, I can shoot you some more information about some really, some long-term supports for folks. So
that would be amazing, Rachel.
Yeah.
And just to add on to what Amber said, we call it WeWrap. It's our assistance program. It's for folks who are renting, who have been financially impacted by COVID and have issues paying their bills right now. It's a program that it's federal money, and it can go, I think, 12 months either back, like actually if you're behind on payments, or forward. And it is being administered by both the city and the state.
Okay.
The city is doing a much better job than not only the state at getting these through, but the nation. The average rate nationally for getting that first round of money through is supposed to be 60% to qualify for the second round of money. The state and the national average is like 11%. Wichita, we've got 85% of our first round out into the community, the people who need it. The only caveat to that, and I'll say this, is you want to, if you're talking to your employees who are interested in this, they have to get their landlord to sign something as well. And so it's more of a collaborative effort. And the advice is to get as much as the paperwork possible in as soon as possible. And that's the best way to not get kind of put to the side. The people who would get everything in as quick as possible, who really take that process seriously, those are the ones that get the money the fastest. So just throwing it out there. And you will have the option for the state or the city, because the state's now in the city's territory. Wichita is the only city in the entire state that we are doing our own program with the same money because we thought we could do it better. And frankly, we are doing it better. So we
You
just
know
have
what
really
the
good staff.
turnaround is?
So the turnaround really depends on how well you do with that first, with getting the information, getting stuff signed, and getting what we need. And I'm telling people this because usually by the time people are looking for this money, they needed it last week, right? Like they are in usually a desperate situation at that point when they come in, and because of concerns with fraud, because of really having to check all the boxes, because it is, again, federal money, it takes longer than that. So the shortest turnaround time that I've heard of was a couple of weeks. The longest, we will, I think, drop applications or take them out of the system after, I think, 3 months.
Okay.
If people applied and then 3 months later still hasn't gotten us everything we need, they'll drop those applications and start the process over, from my
And
understanding.
how do you verify? And I'll look it up on that if it has to be COVID related for those reasons. I do know that Salvation is out of money for rental assistance and utility assistance right now. Center of Hope does have money, but you have to just call to try to get into Center of Hope and just continue to call. So this is a better option.
Definitely. And since we beat the 60% threshold, with 85%, and that was like a few weeks ago, they're probably more done than that. Which means we definitely are getting round two. That another $9.2 million of round two coming in to go back out into our community. The state's not guaranteed to get their second round of money at this point. They have a lot more than us, but they're not guaranteed to get it because, again, they haven't reached that 60%. Some folks think that Washington's not going to sweep it back, but I will say that some of the drafts of the infrastructure bill, actually the pay-fors is the idea that you sweep some of this money back. That's not for the places that didn't get more than 60% out. So we're in a good spot on getting the rest of the money. And again, the goal is to get that information out and to pretty much let people know it's not so much charity. This is like, we do better as a city when people can stay in their homes, when people can, aren't racking up high interest credit card bills or draining down their savings accounts. Businesses, and I'm not saying this in any negative way, businesses had access to a lot of capital to be able to stay afloat. And people also should have access when they need it to help them stay afloat. So,
can Janet send that link out?
Okay, good.
Brandon, you talked about rental assistance. Did you also mention the homeowners assistance?
So I don't think we are running a homeowners assistance
No,
program
but
at
the
this time.
state is, yeah.
Okay.
KHRC is rolling that out. I could send a link to that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because that's, I think, kind of the hole in our program is it's really for renters.
Right.
But if there's a state program, then that would, you'd have to go to the state for that. So thank you for shooting out that link for people who are watching or on here. And again, we want to get the word out and make sure that as much of this money comes into our community to people who need it and qualify as possible, and not let it get sent back to Washington so it goes into like some bridge in New Jersey. We want to make sure that we're in the best shape possible coming out of this thing, if we finally ever get out of this thing. So any questions on that or any more feedback about Delta and what's happening? Right now, the hospitals are at their brink. I think people, if you're following Lacey Cruz or Commissioner Lopez, Zara Lopez on Facebook, if you're not, you should be. They are doing a really good job getting updates, going in and talking to the hospital community and giving updates of what's happening. Our hospitals right now are as bad as they've ever been, which is having a huge impact, I think, on their staffing, their issues as well. And it's going to have a trickle down impact where, if I had chest pain, show up at the hospital, don't get in or can't get in because I have, because all the resources taken up for COVID patients, go home and have a heart attack. And that's also a preventable death. Like we know of stories where that's been going on as well. So we really want to try to fight this thing as best we can. And, hopefully we'll get there. But the update hasn't been good lately, but follow our commissioners if you're looking for that kind of hands-on information. Anything else with the reflections on COVID at this point? Seems like it's still, no one's having anything good, right? Like,
No,
okay, any, okay.
I've rescheduled 10 client events in the last 4 weeks to next year, and probably 2/3 of those were rescheduled from last year. So if you're going to things, wear your mask, get your shot.
No kidding.
No, we are, last thing I'll say, and then we'll give it back to Hoyt, is the latest news, as you all probably know, looks like Pfizer might be able to, if they get approved, get vaccine shots for kids in November. And it's a little ways away. We're kind of fighting against the clock, right? But luckily, nearly every school district in our area has precautions in place with mask mandates at this point. And frankly, that's the only weapon kids have to fight against COVID. And this new Delta variant we know is taking a more severe toll on children than the previous variant. So we've been getting little kid N96 masks over at on Amazon, and then also the medical grade masks that you can get for kids now. So we're trying to push those. Those are much better than the cloth ones, especially for kids, because kids like chew on them and kids are gross. But the medical masks, they do less of that gross stuff too. So, all right, cool. So let's get it back to, if there's no more discussion about COVID, I wish we had better discussion. It feels like it just got worse since last time we talked. But let's go back to item 4, so that the Cowtown partnership opportunities. So we'll give it back to Mr. Hillman. We're glad you're back, sir.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it. My name is Hoyt Hillman. I'm chair of the Business Partnership Program for Cowtown. And I really appreciate Janet sending out information, including my presentation, because before I just was cut off and I was locked out. I couldn't unmute or start the video. So if it disappears, you have part of my presentation with you. I'm happy to see you guys and visit with you for a few minutes this morning. We're promoting small business partnerships for Cowtown. That's what we had in 1870 when Cowtown started, and that's why we are a good fit to help each other now. For small business, being out in the market and being visible is essential. Business is down a little bit this year, but Cowtown is having a record year, and we expect about 70,000 visitors. And that's up from even before the pandemic. People perceive us as an outdoor venue, and that's our advantage. If you've not been to Cowtown, it's an immersive historic experience with period actors. The buildings are old historical buildings that have been moved onto the site from a community of small businesses. They even have the first house built in Wichita by Europeans. Wichita's Cowtown is listed in the top 5 Western museums in the nation. And we have the most authentic gunfights, according to True West magazine. It's a real immersive experience. It's a step back into the history of small businesses in Wichita. What we're doing is looking for partners with small businesses to share our audience. 70,000 visitors a year spend an average of 2.5 hours on site. 70% are adults with kids. 30% are adults without kids. 100% of them have time and cash to spend learning. As partners and as business partners, we would both benefit. We would get the increased variety of in our displays and in our meetings and in our parties, and we would really appreciate working with you. And your business and products can be incorporated into by our curators into exhibits with your business name on a building. Partners participate in the 181,000 media messages a year. That's everything from TV, radio, Visit Wichita, Wild Apricot, all our constant contact, email contacts, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And your name would be out there and visible as a partner. We did a survey of Cowtown customers, and when asked, what does Cowtown do well? The answer was 83% enjoy historical exhibits in Old Town and want to learn more about the exhibits. There's a lot of businesses out there that are generic, like the furniture store or the meat market or the various places. They're just a generic building with those kind of things, like the woodworking shop. And it would be really interesting to bring in businesses that had backgrounds in those areas that would help display items. 77% enjoy programs, gunfights, demonstrations, story times. They like action. Some of you guys promote action in events, okay? 80% enjoy special events like holidays, fairs, festivals, and parties. That's a hot button issue for everybody, and they come out. For instance, I see the Hardikies here online today. We put parties on some weekends, but we don't do it every weekend. There's certainly room for more. Stacy and Nathan, we have a saloon, and we could certainly start serving different kinds of beer, ginger, sarsaparilla, anything historical with a name on it would be really cool. Alex Thomas is not here today, but I definitely want to talk to him about the history of Wichita with Redbeards and Rowdy Joes. There was a gunfight years ago that created quite a storyline. I think he would do well working with that, and it would be a good attraction to the area. Andrew at Reverie, I don't think he's on, but we certainly have opportunities for hot and cold cider, hot chocolate, or even coffee. Shannon at Jayshik, we have the venues for hospitality and carriages and barns and backgrounds for weddings. Amber at the Women's Wichita Institute Initiative, we've worked with her on Women of the West events. We could certainly do more. Jared Bowie, I guess, is out today, but we certainly do banners. And Nathan Miles of CORE, you're on. We certainly have the sheriff's office and the jail to create visibility. That would be fun. And Felicia, the 1870 gunfighters, they have beards and certainly need hair trimming and fixed up. And they do look a little rough right now. But we have two teams, and sponsoring something like that would be really fun. And then Kate with the Dress for Success, of course, they need colorful outfits. So those kinds of examples that I'm giving you, just from what I understood from your businesses, these are the kinds of interactions we could do. And we're just open for working with people. And we develop a memorandum of understanding, and we're going to have stickers and decals for your business, so that if you're a participant at Cowtown and a partner, that you would actually be able to promote that in other ways. So you guys have any questions? Is this something new to you, or is this something that makes sense?
Usually when there's no questions, it means it was a good presentation.
Well, okay, but I think there's an opportunity for interaction, and that would be fun. And I see Alex is online. Cool. Not that we want to bring cowboys to the cotillion, but we could certainly bring some of his ideas and into our operations at Cowtown. So
I'll make an
There's-
addition. I've been in Wichita since 1999, and I just recently visited Cowtown for the first time, and I thought it was a really cool experience. I went and saw a gunfight out there and the Delano Dollies perform, and I thought it was great. I also saw you do some concerts out there. I saw the Throwdown in Cowtown. I thought that
Right.
was a concept as well. For me, being a Wichitan for so long, and it taken me 22 years to visit the site, I was a little embarrassed by that fact. But I think it's mainly awareness. But yeah, I would certainly love to work with you guys, whatever we can do to help out. I think it is a valuable asset. I ride my bike a lot on the bike paths, and passed it all quite a few times. But like I said, it took me a long time to come and visit. And when I did, I was pleasantly surprised at the setup. I thought it was really cool.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I think we really have a lot of opportunities to work with small business, and I'll go ahead and email you a little history and some information.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
Yeah, and Hoy, if you email that to Janet, she can send out some of this to the whole group as well.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. All right. Is there any questions for Hoyt?
I'd love to see the Hardickeys out doing various events at Cowtown. I appreciate that very much. And we definitely have room for flavored beers and different kinds of things. So, I mean, there's lots of opportunities.
Excellent.
Thought into it for sure. Thanks, Hoyt.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Hoyt.
Thank you, Brooke.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Hoyt, for being on, and we'll get the information out. And then, of course, just like everything, feel free to share, members, share to folks in your circle who might be interested as well. So moving in, we are now back to item 7, which is other. Is there other discussion or topics that people are interested in bringing up at this time? Anything new that
I have
people are
something.
dealing with? Go ahead.
So this is something that will probably take a few discussions, but I'd like to get the ball rolling on it. It's basically in regards to street closures for events, which is something that I've in the last 5 to 6 months gotten quite a bit of experience with, since I've gotten a year-long permit to shut down things on our street. But I've also noticed a lot of other events that are shutting down our streets where we're not really in the loop on. And I don't know that there's a really good process for notifying businesses in the area. Now, I've been working closely with Isaac at the city on these things, and he does an awesome job. He's a really good ally, and he's been very helpful. But I feel like overall the city doesn't have a great process for this. One example is the car show that shut down Douglas. I think that was good for some of the bars along Douglas, but the kitchen, the restaurant did have to shut down for the day because they weren't getting any foot traffic into their restaurant, and it basically shut down all, surrounding entrances. We had our worst Saturday afternoon of the summer that day, and we ended up getting some traffic, after the car show, but there were food trucks and trailers like right outside our restaurant. So that makes it difficult to kind of get food traffic into your restaurant. So the thing is, those Saturdays over the summer are super important. Losing one is kind of a big deal, especially in COVID times. And so I just feel like there's not a good, like I said, process for how those events are kind of voted for or against. I think the city really wants to promote outdoor events right now, which is great. And we've all been talking as proponents of that. But there is a big difference in shutting down Douglas, versus shutting down like a block on Rock Island. It's a big difference for businesses along, in that area. And like I said, I know like specifically for the car show, I know like some of the bars really benefited for that. I'm sure Alex would speak to that. So, but are there ways where, those closures can be decided in a way that benefits, people in that area? It's tough because I was thinking, well, could the car show have moved from Washington to Hydraulic instead of being all along, from Meade to Hydraulic? Could it be moved down that way? And would that help? But I know that Piatto also suffered that day. So, it's hard to do something that's good for everyone. And I get that. And also want to support these events too. And the car show is, I keep going back to that, but that's one that has moved in different parts of the city. And, sometimes it will be, I think one year it was on St. Francis and it was really good for us. Was it good for the businesses right along that street? I don't know.
No, it wasn't.
No, it's
yeah, it's like, right. So it's hard to like,
they take
these
over.
are hard decisions to make, but sometimes I feel like specifically for these street closures that they're just voted for without a lot of debate. And a lot of times the businesses don't even know it's up for debate when it's like, in front of the city council. And I get that it's probably on the agenda and that we could be checking, but that's not really like in reality.
This is something, Brooke, that really speaks to something that we talk a lot about, like, a long-term vision that we think would be really awesome for our community.
Mm-hmm.
I think traditionally we have not been an experienced community, right? We have traditionally been more of a mercantile community. Like if you want to go do something for entertainment, go out and you purchase something, right? And we are at a time in our community's history where I think that might be pivoting. And so we need to help, or I think it could be really helpful if there was some assistance in that pivot. And that's something like street closures. I actually just talked to someone in the police department about that yesterday, how for us, like it would be really helpful if we could have some more static concepts of street closures, like, on show days when I have 2,000 people walking across the street right in front of us, it's terrifying. And so you can't just, like you were speaking to, Brooke, it's horrible for everyone else if you just randomly shut down the businesses. There are a lot of larger communities around the country that do have, permanent street closures in their high foot traffic areas.
Well, we have an example of that already just on McLean near the stadium. I mean, there's, temporary ballers that can be put in and the street can be closed. I think that idea could be transferred other places, especially in the Old Town area, to give more of a New Orleans vibe or something that people can walk around. But Brooke, on the notification thing, I mean, I think that's something to look at too, is I know when you shut down a street, it's on the person applying for the community event to notify the businesses within the affected area. And what I've seen is nobody does that. It's just something that's ignored. We used to go hang notes on people's doors for like blocks and blocks around, but that was like so time consuming and difficult. And then like sending things through the mail is so antiquated and nobody sees it anyway because we've done that and it doesn't work. I mean, there needs to be like a hub when somebody applies for a community event and it's affecting a certain area, that sends an email out to all the businesses that are in that affected area, and then before it's approved, so people can raise issues.
Right. Or something else that we've heard of other cities doing is they have like an entertainment liaison position
Yeah.
within the
Mhm.
city. So it's something that, they can communicate that, if this entity is requesting a street closure, it's then on that, that's their job, is to communicate that. Or if someone, like Brooke, you are now working closely with Isaac. And so you do understand the process, but it's not the easiest process to understand, right? So once
Right.
once you understand it, it's not a problem. If you don't have someone there to walk you through it the first time, it can be incredibly frustrating. And we tried to do that this last year. We really tried to be a learning resource for people who didn't have that knowledge already. We realized we don't have the time. We don't have the mental space to help with that, no matter how passionate we are and how much we would love to help spread that knowledge. I don't have the time. Adam doesn't have, we mentally cannot do that. And so then, with some of our peers across the country, we are hearing that there are cities that have a position within the city government to act as that liaison. And that just I think that, as I mentioned a moment ago, I think we are pivoting as a community, and that would be such an amazing resource for us to grow.
Yeah, the more we do events, the more we go towards like cultural things.
Right.
No brainer.
I think during the open air ICT kind of movement, once that went forward, I think they tried to streamline the process quite a bit and make it easier. So, and I, like I said, Isaac does a good job of kind of,
Isaac's great.
Seeing if people have been notified, and he'll kind of ping me if he's got questions about anything in regards to a street closure near us, but he can't do that for every event. And there's more and more of them happening. And I just think that they're all getting approved, there's not really a standard of maybe we shouldn't shut down Douglas on that Saturday afternoon for, maybe that's not a good idea.
Or if you do, you have to have a plan that gets people access to the businesses that are affected,
Right.
I
I think some of our main streets are really where we see a lot of the problem. I mean, you're right. They have looked at, we've got the barricades now in Old Town where, past 10 o'clock, they'll put those down, and, our street is essentially closed every Friday and Saturday night. And that's part of the process, and that works fine. And I think that they could, look at doing that more often for street events. And maybe, it'd be interesting to talk to what other cities are doing. Because maybe the answer is to designate areas where the street events occur, and so that there's more of a process and more of a just regularity of that. But it is tough when your main thoroughfares to traffic and parking lots are completely shut down. Nobody can get to you, so you just have to close down for the day. It's there's a difference in how those those closures and how they affect you.
Also, aren't food trucks not allowed in Old Town? How did they get food trucks in Old Town?
I think that was, I don't know, that I think a few years ago was struck down, but
Really?
I could be wrong. And we've had events, Shannon knows, because Shannon's been doing events in front of our restaurant, art events, and we've had a food truck at those events. So it's not that I'm totally against having food trucks in the area. Sometimes it's good for us. It's just when you have big food trailers that are totally set up to sell food to thousands of people for the day, it's
It's carnival.
pretty harmful.
I think this conversation is really timely, considering the position that's open with the city for the director of the Division of Arts and Culture, which is potentially within the next 12 to 18 months going to become an entire merged parks, recreation, and culture and entertainment department between the city and the county, which will add another position that will be shared between the city and the county. over parks, recreation, arts and culture, and attractions. So it's one of those things that as they're going through the interview process with whoever their candidates are right now for the city position, that's something that we should definitely keep in front of them, which Arts Council and a couple of other groups that I'm involved with are having some conversations with Dante and Bob Layton and Tom Stoltz. So I'll be sure to bring that up when we talk to them, because I do think it's a conversation that's worth having, and something that this would be a really good time for that to be put on the table and included in someone's job description.
Yeah, that's good point. I've taken notes. I think that that's a conversation we have to have. We've spoken before about the potential of Wichita having more of an outside culture, more of an experience that we see in some of these other cities. And I'm interested in furthering this conversation into a plan, because it sounds like Jesse and is also saying similar stuff, and Brooke is saying if we had some predictability, I think that would be helpful as well. And when we talk about this portal, see, this is the other interesting thing is, I tried to get at one point like a database set up with all the small businesses in Wichita, all the businesses in Wichita. If I would have gotten $10 from everyone, we could have not only set up the database, but actually hired someone to go beat the bushes with our small business community to try to grow and develop it. And then also there was confusion with creating design districts because we didn't know who was really the small business and who wasn't. We're just not as organized as other cities when it comes to knowing how to contact our local businesses. And that was pretty evident when COVID, with Wayne with the SAB and trying to get information out about COVID, about restrictions that were being put in place, but also opportunities. Kansas City, Missouri was ahead of us because they had the address to everyone. It was an actual business functioning in their area, and we had to go put billboards up, right? Because we didn't have that. So I think that having an opportunity for communication is really important. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. It might be more if we talk about the portal that we're sending a link out. I'm wondering if there's a way to, I'm just spitballing here, but a way that we could perhaps everyone who applies for a event license or event permit or a street closure, if we could put everyone who applies for that in a location that someone like Brooke can go check, every Friday, then if there is something coming before the council that, Brooke can come in and say, hey, when we close on this section, I have to close down for the day, then maybe the council can make some adjustments to that permit. Because a lot of times we don't know, and it sounds like a lot of times you all don't know. And the person who knows might just be the clerk who's putting together the packet, right? Because a lot of stuff's kind of in the weeds. And
and the portal, not to interrupt, but one thing that would be helpful is if, I don't want to have to write all the city council members to speak up against something. I don't want to be against these sorts of events. I don't want to be the opponent, but perhaps if the portal just had a quick comment section where you could kind of say how it's affecting you rather than being responsible for emailing all the city council members, so that there was easy way to see feedback that is not necessarily
my thought is you could put, when applying for a community event, you just click a box what area that this is impacting. So Old Town, you click it, and then there's a database associated with that. And as soon as somebody submits it, auto sends an email out saying, hey, community event application was submitted, check for details, just to give alerts. Or it could be, whatever district, it could be Nomar, it could be Old Town, it could be Riverside, or, just whatever district it is that, within a certain radius. Anyway.
Respond with comments, and then you just hit reply, and those comments go to the city council members. So they see.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Brooke, I think you're honest because we could also send to staff because some of the stuff that you're bringing up, staff might not know, because staff is the one who goes through and makes the decisions, and then the council approves the decision. So if we could also possibly get those comments that go to staff and to the council, and some of these issues could be resolved before it gets to the bench. Also, in a best case scenario, if we had more transparency, like easier to access information about, let's say, when a street's being closed on a certain day or what's happening, Brooke might be able to get out there and do something different, right? Like maybe able to somewhat adapt around what the event is, or Harkeys might be able to adapt around that event that makes it not only more workable, but also capitalizes on an opportunity. I will say that what we're doing with all of our core requests, so like Kansas Open Meeting Acts, we get a lot of core requests where people are fishing around for scandals. We have a new database that we're putting on where all those requests will actually now be accessible, because you can actually core requests. Like that's all public information as well. Like who's asking for what, and we're going to be able to have a database that has all of the requests that other people have made just on one page, and it's accessible. So it makes me wonder, can we kind of take a page out of that software and put it into somewhat of a portal for businesses, where everyone who's requested a street closure or requested so some changes that's also going to affect other businesses in the area, if we could put their application up there as well. It is public information, you can find it, you just can't really find it easily. Then it might allow folks to actually be able to have more more control over their business during those times. So let's chat more about this, because again, we want to, just like the Harkeys were saying, create that environment where we have more outdoor events. But also, I love that people are actually looking into how other cities are doing this. And Shannon brings up a really good point that, hey, we got a position we're hiring. Why not add to that while we're hiring? Let's add someone who has some experience in this type of, these type of policies that could possibly move the ball forward.
One more thing just to add is I feel like the way the system is currently set up, it's almost like Isaac is kind of in the middle of all of it, like a lot, just because he's the one helping the person who's applying, obviously. And then he's the one who has to hear from business owners ahead of time if they're kind of upset about it. And then he has to kind of almost try to be a mediator for it. And it's like not a good system for, nobody's going to be successful in that sort of position. So anyways, just wanted to.
Well, I believe there used to be a position that it wasn't all just Isaac, that's something.
Connie and
Connie was amazing. I miss Connie so much.
Yeah.
And Isaac also has to manage Century too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. Department's
For
just
sure.
fascinated.
But I will say this has been a problem since we've been open. I mean, it's like a Thursday night. We open our doors at the restaurant and our streets closed and we weren't aware of it. Like, this is not new.
But let's fix it. Like, that's the thing is, I don't want you guys booking a show, bringing people in, having something awesome planned, employees are showing up ready for a big night, and then I took a vote that ruined that without even knowing it, right? Like something we maybe could have adjusted, like switched up or down a couple blocks, and then everyone would have been happy. I think that as we're building, pretty much Isaac might be doing everything, and it's because like we laid everyone off. I'm not saying that because it's funny. Like I'm saying that because like we had to cut a ton of money from the budget last year, and right now people are starting to notice that. And I kind of am glad that we're able now, because of the federal opportunities, to build back that budget and hire people, because again, right now people are starting to notice the cuts at a time we're in a position to actually rehire people and reimagine what the services are that we want to offer. So this is the right time to have this conversation, because we we can kind of adjust some of these job descriptions and the people we're looking for to fill them so that they have multiple skill sets that will hopefully solve some of the issues that people have been having for a long time. So,
So I was
Sorry.
just going to say, I think we need to bear in mind also, it wasn't just the cuts in the last year that have been detrimental to that department. It's been going on for years that the arts and entertainment part of our city have been neglected.
Well, it's never existed. So we've never had a
Right.
live entertainment position. We've never had a events position. It's been part of somebody's job that they were doing 50 other things. And so it was never a focus. It was always more of an afterthought or a hassle. And so like Connie was amazing, but she was doing events at Century 2. She's doing stuff at City. She's doing 50 other things, as is Isaac, as has always been in the city. And so, you know, what we're saying, what we've seen is like there's a specific person that's for live entertainment or even music or events in general. But it's like that's their whole job. And then they develop it beyond just being reactionary. They're proactive in policy making and talking and doing community outreach to people within the industry and like learning to build it as opposed to just reacting to whatever happens.
Yeah.
And so
I really think that like our city has never been known as, you know, and this is my specific field, so I can speak very clearly to like the music portion of it. Our city is a music city. Our city, but you know, the government, the mainstream thought process of our city has neglected us. And so we've always sort of stayed underground and we've had little outlets. And I really think that we would be able to grow the industry at an exponential rate if we were given a little backing.
right. And the few cities, or not few, the handful of cities that have done it, they've seen like huge growth in that industry, which in turn is huge growth for the economy and for jobs for artists and for gig workers. And so it's not just like, it's also like something that can really help grow the city as a whole and you know, give opportunities to people that currently don't have them. So it's beyond just the need to assist businesses. It's the need to assist so many within the community and to also build something in the community that's going to help everybody else around. So
yeah, it's one of those things that it is. That's one of those things that keeps coming up in conversations that like the Arts Council Advocacy Group has had many, many conversations with city and county leaders about this merger and how if they're going to tout quality of life as one of the ways to recruit younger families and corporations and businesses that we want to have here, part of that quality of life is making arts and culture a priority and not just something that you benefit from but don't really support, and we have to do it on our own. And so there's a very squeaky wheel in these conversations, and I'm happy to relay any information or invite anyone who's interested to the meetings because it's still going to be a very long, drawn out process to get all of these things in order and done, but I really want them to do it right and not just slap something together and rely on the same industries to keep making things look good without getting any support. So there's my soapbox for that.
No, I agree. And this is the time to make those changes. We have an influx of money that we weren't counting on, and we're building back our staff, which means that we can be a little more agile. The council is very old school thinking, getting them to be the director of change on stuff. They're the type who wants to go out for a study for 2 years, come back and make adjustments afterwards. I'm more like, what can we agree on as far as, get more agile, get our best foot forward? What can we agree on as something that we can do to make improvements, and then make improvements on that plan as they come up, as the need comes up. So I think that having this conversation now is the time to do it. And frankly, it gets into our economic development plans. It's more than just incentives to grow and bring businesses here. It's also quality of life. It's a lot of things, and it's building upon what we already have and what we do well. And just like the Harkey said, we're a music city. Just like Shannon knows, like we're a city of artists. Like we should be building upon and promoting that strength, because it's one of the things that separates Wichita from other cities. So let's start these conversations. I just, Janet texted in the box about Dante. Dante is the assistant city manager, and he's pretty much the highest rank when it comes to folks who do the hiring. He's our HR guy. So let's get him in on this conversation as well, because as they start looking towards hiring the right people, putting the right people on the staff side in place, maybe we can influence some of the folks or skill sets that they're looking for to help us grow in this area.
That sounds amazing. If you ever need like somebody plugged in to a certain meeting to give like an economic development spiel, we honed one pretty well last year. So just let us know and we can show up and talk to people about it.
And from our end, I think it'd be good to have different people, venue folks, promoters, artists. I think getting input from what local musicians are experiencing. I mean, I think all of that's super important. And then, I mean, there's a ton of examples that we could share of what other cities have done. It's not hard to find. I mean, you look at Austin or you look at Texas as a whole.
Texas as a state and Austin specifically as a city has an amazing plan.
Which is hilarious because it's Texas, but
the state has a whole music department.
Department.
Like
and
within the state government.
Music, and they spend millions and millions of dollars on it every year.
And because they understand the economic impact. For every $1 spent. Sorry. But for every $1 spent on a show ticket, there's $12 spent within the community at a hotel or a coffee shop or a restaurant. It's a good study. Sorry. We've said it. But I mean, that's just, yeah. There's
a bunch. We can share them with you. I don't know, Shannon, Mayor.
I'm sure Shannon has other studies as well. Ours are specific to the music industry. I'm sure Shannon has others.
I've got some specific to performing arts and different arts events and stuff like that. I don't know that mine are breakout specific to music or not, but yeah, it makes a huge impact.
I mean, it's decades old programs. I mean, they've been in existence for a long time. So it's not something new. It's not a revolutionary concept. It's tried and true, and people have done it.
Which is what we need, because we can pull a page out of their book pretty easily and adapt it.
Yep.
Right. I think it was the city of Chicago. I'll have to find the article.
Talking about the Chicago Loop in 2019, Shannon.
What's that?
Chicago Loop study of 2019. That was a really
that is a good one. There was something about like when all of the ARPA funds information came out, that they like immediately said $14 million of this recovery is going specifically for arts and entertainment. To help individual artists, to help venues, to help organizations that are doing things for the arts and culture community. And it was one of those things that I was like, that's amazing. And then I immediately got irritated because we don't have anything like that here.
And it needs to be, when those things are brought to those who are able to make changes attention, I think it's really important to posit it as an economic development situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's important as like a quality of life and population retention issue as well. But I think it's tourism, but all of it, I think it makes the most impact from our experience. If you tout it as economic development and economic impacts, that's how changes get made.
Well, 100%. And as well as I do, Adam and Jesse and Brooke, that, we're the first. If there's a big community event, if there's something that, the city or the county want to brag about, they want entertainment there. They want to be in a cool venue. They want these things. Yep. And they also ask for it to be donated.
Exactly.
And
it's
we
great.
Cannot, I can't pay the electric company in exposure. Like the gas company doesn't take a playbill as payment for that month's services. So it's one of those things that they know the importance of it. They know the importance of it. They understand why it's such a draw. They just don't want to invest in it. So we just have to change that mindset.
So let's get Dante on next time if he's available, have this conversation with him. I think we might actually, let's see where we're at And then we might actually need to possibly get a task force going who can kind of show, because frankly, you guys are going to be better at pulling out stuff from the Austin, Texas plan and saying like surveying the scene here in Wichita and saying like, hey, this would be a really good step forward. It's influenced by these other plans where cities who have successfully implemented this. It might help us take that step, that further progression with this. We also have some fellows who might be able to do some research and work on it. My fear, and I don't mean to knock any staff, is that we'll have someone who's not hands-on in the industry like you all, put out a plan that's well-meaning, but in the end, like comes up short. Like if we move forward with this and try to figure out that what is the strategy, and get into the plan making, I'd really love for folks who actually work in the industry to be at that table, so that we can and piggyback off of what other cities have done successfully. And so let's kind of in the back of our mind think about that. What by the next meeting, we'll talk to Dante, give some feedback to him, and also ask kind of where we're at, get a starting point, and then we can build upon that, and hopefully, because I'm with you guys, I want a really cool experience when we get out. Like, it takes a lot for us to get babysitters nowadays. My idea of a date night is going to a fundraiser and going to some event that I have to go to. But we got to get babysitters. It takes a lot, and then it would be really cool. I'm not the only one who wants to go out, do something fun, but also have an experience that frankly we might not expect. Like walk past something in Old Town and listen to some live music with a band that I could get really into that I wouldn't know existed if it wasn't set up properly, where we could actually have that experience. So I think that we can get some stuff done. So it is we'll get Dante on next time, so long as he's not too busy. Let's start thinking about what cities are doing it right, so we can start mushing together a plan if we were to start down this pathway. That'll help us out with the resources too. What resources can we utilize? We have $5 million aside for small business growth and development. Brooke, just a follow up to last conversation that we had about job training, possibly doing something for folks in the leadership center or some other type of job training for folks who are working in the service sector. That's something I've been brought up to the city manager, and something that I think we need to also zoom in on. Not just when we talk about workforce development, not just folks who are doing advanced manufacturing, but also what can we do to advance the quality of work and folks when it comes to the service sector as well, and tapping into some of these funds.
That's awesome.
Well, I haven't got it done yet, but we're just as follow up, we're trying to buzz around here about that, so get the conversation moving. But we're about 11 minutes past the hour, which means that we're kind of right on time for what we do. Try to get you guys out at least 15 minutes after. I'd be respectful. This conversation is great, though. I think that we're on the verge of creating a better plan that will make us less. And the thing I hate about government is we're reactionary. Like, we're reacting to everything, right? But we could actually be proactive if we get the right stuff in place, and then kind of scenario plan with a more proactive mindset to respond to changes. That's what I'm hearing. We can get a plan together, and then also figure out a way to be better when it comes to letting you all know what's coming up, so you're not reacting to it. You can plan around it. So let's continue that conversation. Anything else?
Thank you for letting me be part of this today.
Oh, of course. No, Holt, we appreciate you being on. Appreciate everyone making time today. I know everyone's so busy. And just thank you all. And if there's no objection, then we will adjourn. See no objection. We are adjourned. Our next meeting is October 15th. Of course, reach out if anything comes up that we can help out with between now and then. Thanks, everyone.
Right. Thank you. Bye-bye.